This is one of the biggest mistakes we've made about happiness, and most of us don't even realize we're making it. We've been taught to chase happiness like it's a destination, something we'll finally reach after we check enough boxes or life finally settles down. What if that's the very belief that's keeping happiness just out of reach for us? By the end of this video, you'll have a completely different way of thinking about happiness and a simple way to tell whether your life is actually moving toward it. I'm Linda. I'm the founder of Wise Women Wellbeing. And after years of studying happiness through psychology, behavioral science, working with women just like me in this stage of our lives, and even through my own life experiences, I've become convinced that we're measuring happiness all wrong. And that's important because if you're measuring the wrong thing, you can spend years chasing something that was never meant to be chased in the first place. So today I want to show you a different model, one that works even when life isn't perfect. So most of us have been taught to think about happiness the same way. We tell ourselves, I'll be happier when work settles down, when I have more money, when the kids don't need me as much, when I finally have time for myself. And those thoughts are completely reasonable. The problem is that they all have one thing in common. They teach us to treat happiness like a destination we'll eventually arrive at. Psychologists call this the arrival fallacy, that we'll be happy when we reach certain milestones. And for years, that's exactly how I lived. To be honest, I never had a dream of what I wanted for myself. I never had the tools to evaluate what would make me happy. Like what career would be appropriate for my personality? What would I enjoy? I was encouraged to find a profession where jobs were plentiful. So I chose the practical job, the available opportunity. And the same with relationships. I didn't have the tools to help me understand what I truly would need in a relationship that would make me happy. So I aimed for all the wrong things for me and wound up with relationships that seemed possible, but not joyful. So most of the time, I just took what the world presented to me because it was there. I settled for less and did not have the confidence to go for something that would bring me joy. I wasn't asking what kind of life would actually help me thrive. I assumed that happiness would come later once everything else fell into place, and it never did. And there's a reason why this happens. Psychological research shows that when we're under prolonged pressure, our attention naturally narrows toward immediate problems. And that's incredibly helpful when you're dealing with today's demands. But over time, it can make us postpone the very things that give life meaning. And that's one of what I call happiness taxes. It's not that you stop caring, but it's that you slowly learn to treat happiness as something that begins later instead of something you can practice today. So if you're already recognizing some of your own happiness taxes, I've included a link to schedule a complimentary Spark Reconnection session below where we can begin mapping these together. But first, let me show you the shift that changed how I think about happiness forever. So one of the most important shifts I've made is replacing what I call the destination model of happiness with something I call the happiness compass. A compass doesn't tell you why you've arrived, or it doesn't tell you you've arrived. It helps you know whether you're moving in the right direction. To use the happiness compass in real life, we look at what I call the three daily bearings. Bearing number one is energy alignment. Instead of asking, am I happy today? Ask yourself, did I do one thing today that restored my energy rather than draining it? Even if it was just a 5-minute coffee in silence. Bearing number two is active boundaries. This means identifying one area where you are currently overfunctioning for someone else or something else and consciously stepping back by just 3 degrees. Bearing number three is curious interruption. This is the practice of pausing when you feel the urge to just endure and asking, is there a choice I can make right now that serves my future self and not just my current stress? When you track these three bearings, the question stops being, have I arrived? And becomes, am I heading in the direction I want my life to go? I know that may be a very different way of thinking about happiness than what you've heard before. So before we go any further, I want to let you in, or I want you to let one idea really sink in. It's not that any of us fail at happiness. It's just that we've been measuring it with a map that was never designed to get us where we wanted to go. Because if you've spent years believing happiness is something you'll finally reach after life settles down, then of course it has felt like it's just always out of reach. And that isn't because there's something wrong with you. It's because you've been trying to navigate with a definition that doesn't match how real life actually works. Real life doesn't pause and then we wait till we become happy. Life keeps happening, which means happiness has to be something we learn to practice in the middle of it, in the middle of real constraints, not after we've escaped it. And once you begin looking at happiness that way, everything starts to change. So again, before we go further, I'd like you to try something with me. Don't think about the next month. Don't think about the next year. Just think about today. And ask yourself one simple question. Did anything I choose today move me, even one small step, in the direction of the life I actually want? Maybe it was a conversation. Maybe it was taking a walk. Maybe it was saying no to something that wasn't right for you. Maybe it was simply watching this video because some part of you knows there's another way to live. For just a moment, notice the difference between reacting to your life and choosing the direction you want your life to move. Because that matters. Even noticing that difference is the beginning of practicing happiness. Happiness isn't built all at once. It's built one intentional step at a time. So if this way of thinking about happiness feels different, I hope it also feels a little lighter. Because if happiness isn't a destination you eventually arrive at, then you don't have to wait until your life is perfect before you begin moving toward it. And you don't have to figure out that direction on your own. Sometimes the most valuable thing isn't more information. It's having someone or having someone help you see your own life more clearly. So again, you don't have to change your whole life this week. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't even know or have to know exactly where you're going yet, where you're going next. Simply begin paying attention to the direction you're moving because direction matters more than speed. Small intentional choices have a way of changing where our lives eventually lead. And that's how real change usually happens. So if today's video helped you realize that you've been measuring happiness in a way that no longer serves you, I'd love to help you begin finding your own bearings. That's exactly what we do during a Spark Reconnection session. It's a conversation where we explore where your life is today, where you'd like it to be, and what one meaningful step forward could look like. You'll find the link below whenever you're ready. And if today isn't the right time, that's okay too. Just keep asking yourself one question. What direction is my life moving? Because happiness isn't something where you eventually arrive at. It's something you practice one intentional step at a time. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.